And we continue at 107 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. Mr. Randy Wang's at the sports desk in Culver City.
John, we got an email during the break from Robert at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com, and he sent us the letter that Karen Bass sent to Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, on August 23rd of this year, fully supporting Streets for All's proposal to study destroying the 90 freeway. She fully supports the program. She says it will help fix a lot of the harms that were caused from building the freeway.
So let that sink in for a moment. They want to go in and take the 90 freeway offline, turn it into housing for the homeless, and use your tax dollars coming from the federal government. I'm assuming if it's coming from the Department of Transportation, this would be part of the infrastructure bill to take infrastructure away from you and give it to the homeless.
Oh, you're so optimistic.
All right. Let's welcome former Los Angeles City Councilman Joe Buscaino into this conversation for his perspective. Councilman Buscaino, welcome.
Good to hear from you, John. Boy, I do not miss this. Craziness.
All right.
How you been? How you been, man?
Well, I've been okay. I've been better, actually, after reading this news.
Yeah. Oof.
After serving on that council for as long as you have, I'm sure you've seen it all, but did it ever occur to you that they would try to take a freeway that is used by the people who live in the area and liked by the people who live in the area offline to turn into homeless housing?
Never in a million years. I can tell you this, though. You're right. I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, sitting on that council for 11 years, including former colleagues who've been indicted, been in prison. But let's recognize the city of L.A., it's landlocked, so this is yet another attempt of placing housing. And if you recall who's leading this effort, this was a Streets for All who supported then mayoral candidate Karen Bass at the time. So I believe she's just being responsive to their concerns and their push to take this freeway away by asking Secretary Buttigieg to pay a $2 million study. Man, I've got to get into the study business. That's a ton of money. So, it's all preliminary. It's not real, but it can be real. And I don't know where Tracy is on this, Councilmember Tracy Park, but I'm sure her phones are being flooded right now with these concerns.
We had her on the show earlier this week. She has
Isn't she
zero
great?
interest. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
And she's got a spine of steel, and she clearly has zero interest in doing anything that's going to produce more homeless encampments. So I can't imagine that she'd be for this.
Well, again, how the city operates, you have council members who are mini mayors in the district, and God bless Tracy Park. We were all in with her, and boy, what a turnaround there in her council district. So, I'm hoping that, the colleagues turn to her on this decision. I know it impacts the state, Caltrans, of course, the local assembly member, that I think it just needs to be a huge effort. And, government works best when it listens. I did the same for many years when, we said yes to solutions on homelessness, but we also said yes to accountability with our no camping law. And it's you've got to listen to the people. That's why you're elected.
How does it work? Talk to me about the process of that council with the 15 unique individual districts. If someone from some other district decided that they were going to meddle in your district on an issue that directly pertained to homeowners and people who live there and went around your back to do it, how would you react to that?
Well, you got to respect the home rule. And traditionally, historically, if you look at the city council and its history, you don't dip into your colleague's district without having the support of the home council member. But in this case, you're looking at a citywide issue of housing and the homelessness issue. I think the whole home rule today on that city council is out the door based on, what took place in this last election cycle. You have, council members who've been supported by the Democratic Socialists of America who They can care less about, being respectful to other members, even though you're seeing some effort of collaboration between the respective council members. But historically, that's how it operates in that city council. I've seen it. And I can tell you, for one, I was not happy when someone wanted to come to my district and change the way we want to operate. But I'm also, respectful of the collaboration that's needed to get things done in the city.
Your background is public safety. Before you got elected to the council, that's what you did for work. Knowing that, if you look at an area like the marina, which is relatively isolated from other parts of the city, if, let's say, someone is injured in an automobile accident there and they need access to a trauma center, and there's no trauma center in Marina del Rey or Playa Vista or pick your neighborhood, you have to be able to get emergency vehicles from other parts of the city in and out of there lickety-split, because a matter of seconds could be a matter of life and death. And if you take that freeway offline and everyone suddenly has to take Lincoln to get in and out of there, or Washington or Venice, suddenly you've made the ability of those emergency vehicles to get to that part of Los Angeles extremely difficult.
Yeah, I've experienced it for 15 years, rolling code 3 in and out of the city. Ingress, egress into major corridors are critical, and time is of essence when someone calls 911. So look, John, I'm hopeful that this $2 million study would show the issues of not only public safety but also infrastructure and the cost to do this and take over an entire freeway there, and that's the purpose of quote unquote studying this.
If homeowners are as furious about this as I imagine they are, what's the best way of channeling their anger? Is it writing their council member? Is it writing the mayor? Is it showing up to meetings? What is the best use of your time?
Engagement. You just cannot sit idle on these huge issues. I mean, I can tell you, I got an email from Mayor Bass today. She has a town hall meeting later today. I mean, RSVP and let your voices be heard. This is the first time I've seen a mayor do such a thing, which is, I think it's great to lend an ear and be available. This town hall, I believe, all to those who are going to be impacted by this freeway takeover, you ought to let your voices be heard. Thankfully, you have your council member there, Tracy Park, who is pushing back against it. So you have a warrior for you on the ground who is scratching her head, and like the neighbors and homeowners are saying, what is this all about?
The change in technology has made our life so much better in so many different ways. I can't imagine going back to the 80s and the 90s before we had the smartphones and the laptops and all of the toys that we have now. But one of the byproducts of that is that everyone's on social media, and the cranks really have an amplified voice on places like Twitter and other social media platforms. And their voices are so loud at times, I think that a lot of elected officials look at the loudest voice in the room. They look at some of these people who have big followings on Twitter, but they don't necessarily have followings in your district. They don't necessarily have the ability to mobilize voters. But it seems like a lot of these people in elected office pay attention to the loud ones on Twitter, which are very different than the people who actually live there and vote there. And they have this jaundiced view as to where public opinion is.
Absolutely right. I can tell you, John, I've experienced it firsthand. When I was cleaning encampments and connecting people to resources so they don't destroy themselves on the streets, I had a bunch of outsiders actually protest my home several occasions. You just, as a leader, council members, you just got to push back against these outside forces that are coming in and trying to ruin your district. The people of your district, you have to be mindful, elected you to represent their best interests, to improve the quality of life, whether it's housing, crime, homelessness, infrastructure, how that's what you have to be mindful of. And this Twitter LA can get very loud and can be effective. We just saw this in this last mayoral election. In my friend, what Rick Caruso did, he spent millions of dollars to do the right thing and change directions. But yet it's those folks on the ground, including the Twitter LA folks who are organized. You can't get complacent. They are organized. They're loud, and they don't care. They get into any district at any time and make some noise.
Earlier this week, I was having a conversation with a friend about Kevin De Leon, who announced that he would be running for re-election to the LA City Council. And my friend said, oh, yeah, there's no way he's going to win another term. He's DOA. And I remember shooting back and saying, are you sure? Because the people who scream at him at the council meetings, the people who go after him on Twitter, aren't necessarily the people who live and vote in that district. And we did an hour's worth of calls on this. And I will tell you, we got a lot of calls from people who live in that district, and either they're voting for him or they're not voting for him. But the reason that they're not voting for him has nothing to do with what people are screaming at him about at LA City Hall. It has to do with something he did locally in that district that they didn't like.
Spot on. Bingo. I can tell you, and of course, as we all remember, Kevin was implicated by those recordings that shocked the city. But he has friends or former friends now running against him. But that is his argument. It's like he's saying his constituents who know him well are pleased with what he's been able to accomplish as their local council member. And you have now these outside forces who claim not to live in his district, who camped in front of his home for several months, are trying to force him out. And that's his argument. So this will be an interesting race to watch, among others, come election cycle 2024, this Council District 15 and Kevin De Leon. And you got the two friends who are former friends who are sitting assembly members now up against them, and they're saying enough is enough. And we'll see how this plays out. Buckle up and pull up a chair and grab some popcorn on this one.
We play a lot of the sound at the council meetings when people get up there during public comment and they just curse out whoever it is that they want to curse out. And occasionally something will happen where there's a news crew who's outside a council member's home and there are protesters there who are trying to make life difficult for these members of the city council. And you say to yourself, okay, well, you have the right to let your opinions be heard. You have the right to have your piece and to have your say and make your argument, whatever it is that you're trying to make. But you don't have the right to try to physically intimidate people into doing what you want them to do. And if you are following someone around the city, or you're camped out in front of their home, or you're saying nasty things to their neighbors, or you're trespassing onto their property, that, to me, is a form of physical intimidation. I don't think that's covered enough.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. I was the subject of many of those incidents, not only in the city council, but even when I was in public. When I was running for mayor at these debates, I was being followed, people putting their phones right up in my face. And, God forbid, if you tap it down, then they press charges on you. But clearly, lines have been crossed to the point where it's not fun being an elected official today. But, again, you just got to stand your ground as a leader, and you attribute some of these issues to these liberal judges who are not prosecuting some of these crimes, who've been appointed by previous elected leaders. First Amendment does not give you a right to be an idiot, and the city continues to be sued by kicking folks out, by saying the N word, the F word, and yet they continue to win these cases. Gone are the days where City Hall used to be that sacred place where you see school-age children coming in and out of their own City Hall to understand the importance of local government and hear how local democracy works. Not today. It's just a disaster. It's embarrassing. I have council member friends and mayors from all over the country who are texting me and emailing me and saying, what the hell is going on with your public comment there? It's a disaster, and it's an embarrassment.
Well, I'll tell you, the combination of everything that we've talked about here is part of the reason why people hate politics so much. I mean, just look at the infrastructure bill. When that passed in Washington, D.C., people got excited about that because our airports are crumbling. Our bridges are crumbling. We need new roads. We need new railway. And the fact that we are setting aside money to modernize these things or build new ones, I think was a shot in the arm for a lot of people. People like to have new, shiny things that they can use and be proud of. And when you go to some of these foreign airports, they look great. They look fantastic. You can understand why the local population is proud of them. You go to LAX, you go to LaGuardia, you go to some of these airports, JFK, and they look like FEMA camps. They don't look like airports that are brand new or something that would be fitting a city like Los Angeles or New York City. But after they passed this infrastructure bill, instead of getting the items that we all thought were in there, they're using that money against us to take our freeways offline. It's like we live in an upside-down world.
Well, I mean, I think finally, during my tenure, we advanced that $14 billion land access modernization plan that you see before you today in LAX. Finally getting the light rail into the airport. Don't know if people use it, but that's another issue. But also be reminded of SB1. It's now dedicated a little over $5 billion annually to fix roads, freeways, bridges in cities across California for transit and safety. And yet all of a sudden now we're going to remove, you're right, we're going to remove an asset, the Marina Freeway, after continuing to spend billions of dollars to not only help maintain and fix the 90 freeway, but other freeways in this region.
Former Los Angeles City Councilman Joe Buscaino, he represented San Pedro on the L.A. City Council. Councilman Buscaino, thanks so much for stopping by. Always a pleasure.
Great to be on again. Good to hear your voice. Thanks, John.
If you want to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to go back and listen to the first hour a second time because you couldn't believe your ears that members of our community here in Los Angeles and even the mayor want to look at the possibility of taking the 90 freeway offline and turning it into homeless housing, that's easy to do.
That's right. Just making sure I posted it. I did. Go to KABC.com, click on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show. You could hit subscribe, download all the episodes, including the most recent hour, Demolishing the 90 Freeway, which is an actual policy proposal that Karen Bass supports and asked Pete Buttigieg for money for. You will not believe it.
I cannot believe it, quite frankly.
The actors went on strike. The writers went on strike. There's trouble in Detroit. Coming up next, we're going to tell you about business owners in Oakland who are going on strike because they're fed up with the crime and the homelessness. Coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to go live to Las Vegas and check in with our friend Heidi Harris because there was a computer hacking situation that took place at the MGM that shut those slot machines down for a very long time and just paralyzed all of those hotels and casinos.
It locked people out of their rooms.
Imagine if you were playing a slot machine and you found your way into the bonus and then everything just went down. Because that's when you really hit the big jackpot, when you're in the bonus. Takes forever to get there. You finally get there and then everything just goes zzz.
All that hard work, quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter, for nothing.
Quarter? This isn't 1972.
Dollar after dollar after dollar?
This isn't 1992.
How much are you putting in a slot machine at one time?
Well, if you're playing the Buffalo machine, it's at least $4 or $5 a pull.
Oh, God. They better be giving you free drinks if you're putting that much in.
Well, that's part of the problem. 800-222-KABC is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, everyone and their mother seems to be on strike right now, but you don't think of business owners as a group of people that would ever go on strike because, well, they're not negotiating with management. They are management. But the crime situation and the homeless situation is now so bad in the city of Oakland, the business owners decided to go on strike.
That's right. For more, we have a report from KGO.
Tomorrow, we will be closed until noon.
And that was last night, so they're on strike right now.
Restaurateur Ryan Dixon gets emotional about the crime happening in Oakland now and how it's threatening the small business ecosystem that makes Oakland, Oakland.
We're all dying, literally and figuratively.
Well, I'm glad he said that. For a second, I was worried.
It's the truth.
So the business community has just gotten to the breaking point where every day somebody else is having to choose to close their doors because they can no longer stay in business, whether they're getting broken into repeatedly, whether their staff is being held up or assaulted or shootings in front of our businesses. Just people are afraid to come to downtown Oakland right now.
So 200 small businesses, including restaurants, convenience stores, clothing stores, and doctors' offices, are staging a strike on Tuesday from 10 a.m. to noon to draw attention to their desperation. They say they've gotten no response to a list of actionable items they presented to the city, things like safe parking lots with attendants to deter car break-ins.
No, why is Sheng Tao going to respond to the business owners that are suffering under her watch?
She has got to be the worst mayor in the entire state of California.
I think she is. She absolutely is. Even for Oakland standards, and Oakland has had some pretty terrible mayors. She's the worst that Oakland has ever had, and it's only been 9 months.
You don't need to strike to get the city's attention.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they do.
You don't need to strike to get the city's attention.
The mayor says
Maybe the A's should go on strike.
The mayor says they're working on it, with 300 surveillance cameras to be installed by November and more assistance from CHP.
Does that sound like there's any sense of urgency at all? We're buying cameras. We'll install them by the end of November.
300. It's not 3,000. It's not 30,000. It's 300. You have an entire city that has city employees. You have a Department of Transportation. You have a police department. You can't get 300 cameras up in a weekend?
The mayor says they're working on it, with 300 surveillance cameras to be installed by November and more assistance from CHP. But business owners say they're tired of all the talk. They need immediate action.
You know, our businesses are on the brink of closure due to safety. And we've been broken into, as I said, 6 times in the last year. We've met with city and council officials, and their answer has been to hire private security.
Of course, because they don't have a police chief, and no one wants to be a police officer there.
If we leave, there's nothing. And we're all ready to leave.
So the strike is a final unified cry for help. In Oakland, I'm Leslie Brinkley, ABC 7 News.
There you have it. These are people who are absolutely at their wits' end, and I don't blame them. Could you imagine being a business owner right now in Oakland?
I really can't. Watching over your shoulder every single day, every time the door opens, is that somebody here to rob me? Is that someone to hold me up at gunpoint? How do you create a thriving business with that environment?
I'll tell you, if you're down and out right now and you're looking for a way to make a buck, go open up a glass shop in Oakland. You'll have more business than you know what to do with. It's just smash and grab after smash and grab after smash and grab. Sell it for buildings, sell it for cars, sell it for anywhere, sell it for everywhere.
And then the police already know where they're selling the stolen goods, and they don't even do anything about it.
I'm telling you, that's the future. Glass businesses in Oakland. It'll put your kids through school.
This is why every day there are reports where residents of Oakland call their city,
"It's wild, wild west out here."
Let's go to Sal in West Hollywood. Sal, you're on KABC. Hello.
Hey, guys, I love your show. What is not being discussed and what really needs to be discussed, the fact that this is all part of the plan. The communist socialist government that we're under, California, Illinois, New York, is all a part of knocking down the middle class. Here in West Hollywood, businesses are being destroyed. Governments are then purchasing the properties, quote unquote, to erect homeless shelters, and those properties they will own. And as time goes on, the middle class will be gone. The governments will own the property. It'll be a caste system of the rich and the poor, and the government will own the property. And nobody's talking about it, and those are the facts. This goes along with the homeless situation. Bring all these people in who have no place to go. We'll flood the market. We'll get rid of the middle class, and then we'll be in control.
Well, the minute that governments start doing that, they start circling the drain. Because part of what makes West Hollywood fun are the restaurants and the bars.
They're going.
Absolutely.
They're being
and you know what? No one wants to travel all the way to West Hollywood to look at a homeless shelter. They want to go have a martini.
Right. But what's happening is people that are coming into West Hollywood at 2 o'clock in the morning are being robbed at gunpoint. West Hollywood is one of the highest crime-rated cities in the country. Look at the statistics. It's there. So where it was, I've been a resident for over 40 years. This was a fun place. It was a great place. It's all changed. Well,
do you ever see the safety ambassadors around?
They're right. They're useless. It's like a on a bull. They're doing nothing.
I think I had to dump that, but it was really funny.
Well, it's true. It's true. They're useless. And instead of funding the police, instead of having the city council, which is do nothing except get paid $200,000-$300,000 a year, they're just promoting LGBTQ communities, homeless shelters. It's all part of the plan. This is, if you look at history, this is how the communist, socialist, fascists take over. They eliminate the middleman. They eliminate the middle class so that there's the rich and the poor. If there's no place to go for people to spend their money, okay, there's no restaurant, business owners are out, taxes go down, it's 2 and 2 equals 4.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. We just told you that the business owners in Oakland are going on strike because the city refuses to do anything about crime or homelessness. Recently, the governor of the state of California and the attorney general spoke about the crime in Oakland. Let's listen to what Governor Newsom had to say.
This was during Gavin and Rob Bonta's We're Gonna Tax Guns press conference this morning, where he was asked, Governor Newsom, is this going to help prevent all the gun crime in Oakland?
Governor, as I mentioned, California has some of the best, most gun laws in the country. Yet there are parts of California, like Oakland, that has some of the highest gun rates in the country, or gun deaths in the country. I'm wondering, do gun safety laws like this, can you bring those rates down in a place like Oakland, or is more needed?
As it relates more broadly to Oakland, we're working closely with Oakland, as you know, with the California Highway Patrol in partnership, replicating a version of what we're doing in San Francisco. We put out almost $300 million of crime grants recently.
You mean the ones that Oakland didn't apply for?
Yes. Oakland didn't take the money, and neither did George Gascon.
Grants recently. Alameda County was a beneficiary of some of those grants, which will be supportive. We put a loan, a $1.2 million loan for public safety cameras for Oakland. We continue to work closely with their local leaders in terms of providing whatever additional supports they need.
How much of a headache every day to Gavin Newsom is Shang Tao?
Okay, if you're working closely with them, wouldn't they have made the deadline?
Again, doing the same in San Francisco. And this is, of course, separate and above from what we're doing on the retail theft side, where we're seeing real progress and we're hoping to see even more.
Are we?
No. If there's progress, I'm not seeing it. And neither are the businesses that are closing down their locations.
Here is a doozy from the Attorney General that used to represent Oakland in the California Assembly, Rob Bonta.
There are some who like to claim that they are tough on crime and that they are pro-law and order. But you cannot be pro-law and order if you're anti-gun safety. You cannot be tough on crime if you're not tough on guns. We are tough on guns. We are committed to safety, to gun safety. And
this guy is minor league at best.
Boy, between Bonta, Tony Thurmond, and Eleni Kanalakis, 2026 is going to be sad.
We're really going to end up with a remedial governor. And if you can't be tough on crime without being pro-gun control, then why is it, as the elected representative for Oakland and the Attorney General that also services Oakland, has crime spiked in Oakland? Answer that question for me. All right, we've got one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.
We're here to say, once again, we are beyond enough is enough. Enough has long been enough, and we are going to continue to lead and be courageous